Hey, I finally had a minute to stop and try to get you guys a video. I've been thinking about some more things about the seals opening and the seals of Revelation. If you want to catch up to where we are now and some thoughts and ideas I have on that, you need to watch other videos on my channel. But basically, if we're looking at the third seal or something like it in this pattern, in this cycle starting in 2020, then some of the ideas that I've been having lately is like, with each seal that's been opening, with each cycle that turns out like this, are we seeing a release of like demonic activity more and more with each one? And people have already started talking a lot more about like portals opening and things being more active. And people have been having that conversation for a while. But some things I've noticed with like my experience that would correlate with that is obviously, like I said, you may need to pay attention to my story to know about the man who was involved who attacked me in the spirit. And that started on 9/11 of 2020. And that would have been like a picture of, I knew what I was dealing with, and I had been covering like the narcissistic epidemic of the last decade, and that being part of like the Red Horse and Peace Taken and war. And we were in like narcissism and psychopaths more than like, like crazy, like hasn't been that way for a while, or why was it like suddenly an explosion of it in that decade? And one of my theories was we were at peace taken and something like that. But if with each seal opening, then we're seeing a like revealing or like the devil's coming and attacking people harder, more obviously, then is that why we had a narcissistic epidemic on the last decade? And is that why suddenly now like our psychopaths, like the one I knew I was dealing with, and he wanted me to do certain things, I believe. He wanted me to be victimized by him in different ways, and one of them was I was supposed to keep going back to like services that he had where he had already been rude and ugly to me. So basically, I knew I was dealing with like one of these psychopathic abusers, a psychopath dog situation. Even though when I came back from like my 2 year break of completely kind of blocking him and saw him again, it was kind of like I had refreshed and I had kind of forgotten how bad it was. And so I was trying to do some peacemaking things because it had gotten so bad in cursing. And then I was back to kind of like just minding my business, but I noticed it was getting worse. He came to the area, he was upset I wouldn't go to a service there. Okay, long story short though, I was dealing with like a psychopathic, narcissistic type situation. That's what I think the demons were last decade that we could see and why they were worse and getting bad. And this time they're manifesting. They're coming all the way out. They're attacking people. Like the guy that attacked me. I'm hearing people talk about it more and saying things about it and a phenomenon. In other words, like at the beginning of the 2020 decade, people were reporting demon face, what they call demon face, which I believe was just like they would walk past even a stranger and their face would transform into something they knew was evil and supernatural. So they were calling it demon face for a while, but everybody was like real busy with the virus and people were very busy and distracted. And so I think they played that down and maybe it even got controlled. Some of this I think is like the devil's allowed to surge, the saints respond, we get more prayerful, we draw closer to God, and some of it like gets kind of balanced out or subdued. Because I think the other side of this cycle is, yes, the demons are going to manifest more, but the saints are going to be more refined and we're going to be closer to God. And we're going to become like glorified. Like I can feel it and see it. Like after everything I've been through with the assaulting on me, the biggest outcome for me is just like, I see glory in the clouds. I see glory in the sky starting last year. And like playing the verses and playing the Bible verses. Church is feeling different after the virus hit for a while. And I could just feel like the glory of God and close to the Lord. So I think that's what he's showing us, is that what our response needs to be. It's like what our response needs to be with all of this is we're growing closer to God, and to expect it, to look for it, and to know how to work with the Lord in a sanctification and preparing for him coming back. That's going to give him, in other words, not to fear when we see the demonic surging, not necessarily to go into some kind of warfare or to focus on that only, but to just know that this is how, and like if we, heaven forbid, if we hit harder levels of persecution, we know that we're being glorified. We know what this process is, and not fear that either. Like Revelation says, don't fear if you're put into prison for 10 days. That the process is that we're getting closer to God. We're becoming the saints. the patience and the faith of the saints, and that this is the process. It's all throughout the New Testament, even though they've tried to beat it out of the New Testament church and hide it and change our churches so much. That is the process. Our persecution and our rewards, our cross and our crowns, and let no man take your crown. And another example of like this decade being things becoming more obvious, not just the files releasing, and now everybody can see, a lot of what's going on. They're like deliberately changing our psychology to be more traumatized too, by the way. To be a little bit more traumatized, and that way if we go into war situations or civil situations, then they're already like getting us kind of trained of everything being kind of wild and chaotic and our hands tied, if you will. If things are taken from us and massively taken from us, get ready for anything. And I think that's part of why they dropped all that, is just to let people know we're in a different time, and a power grab and a trauma-based mind control again. How about that? Like they always try to do, one way or another. But if you remember, one of the memes of our decade was the airplane lady that saw something at the back of the plane where she was sitting.
But I am telling you right now, that back there is not real. Say whatever you want. I'm telling you, I'm getting the off, and there's a reason why I'm getting the off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real. And you can sit on this plane and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to. Bye. And there's a reason why I'm getting the off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real. And you can sit on this plane and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to. Bye.
And she gets up and she announces to everyone, I'm leaving, you can stay here and basically die with that thing, but I'm leaving, and I don't care what nobody thinks, because when you're attacked that way, you're also attacked in that that people are not going to believe you. And sure enough, this woman apparently shut her own story down really quick, because she realized, I guess after it became viral and everything, she realized, okay, people are going to think I'm crazy and I'm just a crazy person. And she was actually a very high income earning person, I believe. And so she made sure to get on one of the news agencies and tell everyone, and she was telling everyone that, we were just having a scuffle at the back of the plane about, I grabbed my headphones or my earbuds or something, and we were just kind of fighting over it, and I got really mad, but I'm fine now. And look at my big nice house and all the money I make. See, she shut that story down, and because that's what I think happened. Because you cannot be known as the person that saw the weird thing. But what I'm trying to say is it became so prevalent and so obvious that things like that were happening and becoming viral in this decade. And like if we are at the third seal, imagine at the sixth seal, heaven's rolling back as a scroll, I believe is how it says in the verses. The heavens roll back like a scroll. How about that level of unsealing? How about that level of the supernatural released? Because now you're in the trumpets of the seventh seal of the wrath after that. And in those trumpets, you start seeing the supernatural woes. The locust out of the pit, the king over the bottomless pit. You see the locusts coming out of the pit, and 200 million man army, I believe that was all supernatural. And so if we're at this stage of a third seal of things rolling back and being supernatural, it makes sense. Like this wicked, vile man who attacked me, something like stepped into him more and more, and it became the next level. I've said things throughout the years to people that I told about it. I've said things like, he jumped off the cliff. He jumped off the cliff with Satan and tried to drag me down too. He tried to pull me down with him, but he went with Satan and he went all the way this time, or Satan came inside of him, and different theories like that. But that's an example of like, this is that time where whatever was bad has now become exponentially worse. So it's not just you. This is what's going on with your situations and why it has taken so much warfare, prayer, and fasting for example, and among the other signs that was of that man hitting me on 9/11, of my first theory was kind of like that first 9/11 would have been the white horse coming out, the spirit of Antichrist, going forth conquering and to conquer. Okay, 9/11 of 2020 is when he started attacking me. I did not plan that. I did not expect that. But it was kind of like confirming the sign of the ideas that I have, and a sign, many different versions of the sign, like the times getting more evil, Micah 6 wickedness of the churches of our time before America gets judged, all the things that are coming to us in our land and to be in prayer about. And one of the signs would have been I was dealing with a histrionic psychopath type dog, sorcerer, basically. If we are to put it into these categories that a lot of us ladies are often the ones that are having to put these things into a category of what's attacking me and how to low contact, how to no contact, how to stay away. I wasn't telling anybody how bad he was to me yet. So that's how we come up with these words like psychopath or sociopath or narcissist or malignant narcissist, of trying to figure out, okay, what is it? And that's why they do what they do, so we can not worry and not ever worry if it's us, or if we could help other people see a lie real quick and just like move on more safely. So what we thought we were dealing with, like in personality disorders before, are now witches, sorcerers, like really stronger with the demonic, more obvious with the demonic. Like when he would come into the area after he attacked me the first time, I could tell he was in the area because my body was being attacked harder. And guys, the way he cursed and cursed and cursed, right, after he knew he had hurt me. And so I'm going to get more into that in a little bit, but I mostly just want to talk now about the seals, about each seal opening. So does that mean in 2030, when we have what the Bible is calling the death and hell, is that the next level? Is that why it's called the death and the hell? Because now you've had that fourth level of the seal opening, of the demon pits opening. And it's going to give refinement to us. But I'm thinking we can see it in the conflicts of the world. We can see it in the people around us, and we can see it in difficulty levels. And we can see it in how people are acting on the streets too, to everything that's going on. One thing I would say to keep in mind with this, when we're dealing with leadership, and other people, is to no longer look at people as though, in case you were, because I'm that way, I'm kind-hearted, I want to give a lot, I want to give people benefit of the doubt. I believe it's not safe or correct to look at people as though they have their full own agency and they are kind of like I've joked about zombie apocalypse. We need to see people more like they're given over. They are given over to one force or the other. And the more you give yourself over to these forces, the worse or the better that it's going to get. And we need to start judging and seeing things that way, as far as what have they given their life to. Otherwise, we're going to get really confused and we're going to get in danger because we're not seeing things accurately. That would be a suggestion that I have. And I also say keep in mind that these past 170 years or so, and I've covered this a lot on my channel, that the systems of the world have been progressively given over to these AC systems. So your banking, health, education, psych, education, media, entertainments are given more and more over to. There is no such thing as the spiritual, unless you want to watch the X-Files or think about Bigfoot or something, or UFO, and something that we can kind of put into a science category or an unknown category. But definitely don't be putting anything into a category of legit supernatural like the Bible says, because that's old fables. And we have progressed past that stage, is the lie. And then if you have certain issues, you need to go to psychiatry first and do whatever they say, or something's wrong with you. And so that's kind of how we've been deliberately trained and brought up for so long, that everyone has been like, it's strange systems and levels of sorcery that are in the world, that have been put into the world to trick and confuse people and mess with them about what's really going on in the world, what's going on spiritually, so that we don't have the right answers, we don't take productive steps, we don't get free, we don't see truth. We're under like witchcraft, sorcery, systems of Babylon, of the world. And I believe that if you are not already separated from those systems, you are behind. That we're past the point where we need to be trying to come out from among them and be separate and not partake of the plagues of the evil times. That's definitely one suggestion I would have, and actually being ready for what's coming. and actually being ready for the times. You absolutely have to have more time with God, less time with the things of the world, more time with the Lord and God's people in prayer and being separate. Find ways to be separate. I watch a lot of alternative medias and a lot for information and for my safety and loved ones' safety, and they're not like the purest sources ever, but I mean that's not what to do in these times either. But as far as we're all going to be working, we're all going to be out in the world and having contact and influence, but I think it's going to be a difference between the people who are able to be sanctified, the people that God will draw close, will reward for their separation. Separate. We're being given information about like even our food systems and about everything, our entertainment. Thank God, even a lot of secular people, I think, are being forced to separate out from a lot of wicked entertainment because the times are very different, and everything's being showed up more and more for what it is. But, I would say develop disciplines, kind of like wean yourself off of bad systems even, and replace bad with good habits and things like that. But we definitely need to be in separations mentally, emotionally, psychologically, of separating out away from evil. We're past time for that, and we're going into darker, crazier times where that's like one of your skill sets in these times. In knowing what's happening in the world accurately, I've talked about making sure that we know that people are not their own agents. They've given themselves over to good or evil, and they're being run by complex or simple systems that we can't understand. It's not so people are like, we want to look at someone and attach to them and think they're kind and wonderful and good, and we want to be close to them. And it needs to be different than that. It needs to be God, Jesus first, like walking next to you, holding your hand. And everyone goes through that filter of what are their life decisions, what do they think, what do they believe, how they live. It's not judging and hating that person. It's understanding for safety's sake. People are being given over more and more to what they're choosing and what they're choosing to be with. There's forces that are in the world, good and evil. Like I've explained, whenever these things are coming out of people more, and people are going to start seeing it more. So we need to just kind of keep that in mind, that, it's not as simple as it used to be, I don't believe. It's different times. And like if you remember when the devil was offering Jesus rewards on the mountain, he said, if you will fall down and worship me, I can give you the kingdoms of the world. That's another thing to keep in mind. These great kingdoms of the world, because the TV loves to make it to where any news that you're watching loves to make it to where all the politicians of both sides, when you see them on the television set, you can relate to them. They're just like you. They live the same kind of lives that you live. They just came from the same kind of bedroom you came from and put on their their clothes the same way. And they was rushing around and taking their shower and brushing their teeth and doing just the same things you do, and got into a transportation system and went to work, and they were doing it so innocently and calm, and they cared about folks, and they have the same life you have. They have the same family you have. They see their family the same way you see your family. They see other people in the world the same way you do, when really these people are super, super, often super different. Super different. Everything. Motivations, motivators, and even puppets or clones are controlled. I'm just saying, they might as well be, because it's so crazy. And so we need to become a lot more trained of we don't see these people like us. We don't see them like our family, like people we know, people we go to work with, people that we've seen before. They're hopefully, if the files showed you nothing else, it shows you these people are not like you, and it's all of them. It's everyone. They are not like you. They're given over to things of, these are the kingdoms of the world, and did you worship me, so I give them to you. By the time you see people at the top of these world systems, they have fallen down and worshipped you know what, and they never stop. And the verses also talk about we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against these principalities and the evil things that are in the high places. And that's very, very legit and everywhere. And that's what you're dealing with. Especially tops of countries on the TV. They are nothing like you or people that you know and relate to day to day. These people are nothing like you. And they're very often faking your passions, your needs. They're faking to have things in common with you. They are faking your deep, strong desire and needs, and for motives we just don't live like. We don't live with and understand. And it's very cruel, and it's a slap in the face to intelligence, and it deserves to be completely denied and disrespected and disallowed. Amen. And so, yeah, none of them. It's just all a bunch of games and smokes and mirrors. And if we can't see that by now, we are beyond too late. This was a message for 6 years ago. We're beyond it now. These people are not like us, but whenever we see or hear of evil in the world, I would say pray. That is your trigger to pray. We can do something. We can pray. And it's very important that we pray, and they do not want us to pray. Pray for things to go the best way possible, even if things look like they're going sideways. Many times the Lord told us, do not fear. Don't fear when we see the evil things coming and wars coming.